Redwood Air Force Base lay quiet beneath the Kansas sky, its usual rhythm uninterrupted, until it was. Training drills echoed across the tarmac. Pilots jogged past hangars. Engineers inspected jets with practiced precision. Commanders reviewed schedules, unaware that history was about to arrive unannounced. Then the radar lit up. A white jet, unscheduled, silent, descended with alarming confidence. Radios crackled. Ground control scrambled. Officers rushed the runway as the aircraft touched down. Stamped clearly on its fuselage was a seal no one expected to see. President of the United States. "Is this a drill?" someone whispered. "It's not," came a reply. Minutes later, a modest motorcade rolled forward. No press vans. No cameras. No fanfare. Donald J. Trump stepped onto the tarmac. No speech prepared. No entourage behind him. Just a man with a fixed expression and a purpose no one could yet name. Colonel Diana Reyes, commander of Redwood, approached, doing her best to steady herself. "Sir, we weren't informed." "I know," Trump said, scanning the base. "That's the point." Whispers followed him as he walked. Why was he here? What had brought him to a training base buried in the heart of Kansas? What no one knew was that earlier that morning, Trump had received a letter, handwritten, unmarked, delivered through internal channels. No return address. Only 7 words on the front. "Come to Redwood. You'll see what truly matters." Inside, the note was brief. "You've met presidents, generals, and billionaires. But if you want to meet a real hero, come to Redwood Air Force Base. No press. No limos. Just you." It was signed simply, "A Soldier's Daughter." Trump had stared at it longer than he cared to admit. There was no flattery. No politics. Just sincerity and a quiet challenge. "Cancel today," he'd told his aide. "Book me a flight." Quietly. Now. As he walked across the base, the letter rested in his coat pocket, like a compass. This wasn't a show base. He felt it immediately. Fewer salutes. More sweat. Real work. Real people. Colonel Reyes led him to the command center, still trying to piece together what was happening. "I think I know who wrote this," she said after reading the note. Trump looked up. "Who?" "Private First Class Riley Thomason, one of our youngest recruits. She's only been here 2 months. Quiet, focused, doesn't seek attention." Trump nodded once. "Then she's exactly who I came to meet." Riley had no idea. She was in the middle of a gear inspection when an aide approached. "The colonel wants to see you. Now." Her heart jumped. She straightened, saluted, and walked briskly toward the command building. When she entered, her boots echoed against the polished floor. "Private Thomason, reporting as ordered, ma'am." Reyes stepped aside. Riley turned and froze. Donald Trump stood. "You wrote me a letter," he said gently. Her breath caught. You actually came." He nodded. "Your words mattered." Reyes excused herself, closing the door quietly behind her. "Sit with me," Trump said. Riley obeyed, hands trembling. "I didn't think anyone would read it," she whispered. "You asked me to see what truly matters," he replied. "So tell me." And she did. "My father was Captain Eli Thomason, C-130 pilot." Her voice was soft, but steady. In 2016, his aircraft was hit during an evacuation mission. He could have ejected, but he stayed to guide the plane away from a civilian village. She swallowed. "He died saving 47 people." Trump said nothing. His jaw tightened. "They called it a technical failure." "It barely made the news," she continued. "He didn't care about recognition. But I did. I was 12. I wanted the world to remember him." "And that's why you're here," Trump said. She nodded. "Not for medals. Just to live how he lived." Later, Trump asked to see the base, not as a former president, but as a guest. Riley guided him through the dining hall. Soldiers stared, stunned. "No need to stand," Trump said, grabbing a tray. "Sit. Eat." He ate what they ate, asked real questions, listened to real answers. Stories poured out, a parent's loss, promises kept, reasons for service. "I thought I came to see a soldier," Trump said quietly, "but I'm seeing a family." That evening, in a retired hangar dusted with memories, Riley showed her father's favorite place. An old C-130 bench seat sat in the corner. "He used to bring me here," she said. "We'd look at the stars. He told me being a hero isn't about medals. It's about hard choices." Trump sat beside her. "That's what your letter was," he said. "A hard choice, and a brave one." The next day, without cameras or ceremony, soldiers gathered in the hangar. Trump held a folded flag. "This isn't about politics," he said. "This is about a man who saved strangers, and a daughter who carries his legacy with humility." He handed the flag to Riley. "For Captain Eli Thomason," he said, "whose name may not be in headlines, but lives in hearts." The hangar fell silent. Then salutes rose. After Trump left, quiet deliveries arrived. New equipment, better barracks, updated safety systems. No donor plaques, only a note, in honor of the unheard voices. A friend. Morale lifted. Pride returned. And Riley knew. Someone had listened. Someone had cared enough to come. Hundreds. Riley unlocked a small storage room and gestured toward the boxes stacked neatly along the walls. Inside were letters, dozens upon dozens, written by soldiers after deployments, after funerals, after nights when sleep never came. Some were folded carefully. Others were crumpled, stained, unfinished. Most of them were never mailed, Riley said quietly. Some didn't know who to send them to. Trump picked one up at random. The paper trembled slightly in his hands as he read aloud. "I don't know who to send this to, but I need someone to know I tried. I did my best. I'm sorry if it wasn't enough." His voice broke on the last line. "These are stories," he said, looking around the room, shaken. "Buried." Riley nodded. "No one ever reads them. But I do." She met his eyes. "They shouldn't stay hidden. That's why I wrote to you." And in that moment, Trump understood completely. That night, beneath a wide Kansas sky scattered with stars, Trump stood beside Riley outside the old hangar. The wind carried the quiet hum of the bass. Steady, watchful. "I want to do something," he said. "Not for cameras. For truth." Riley turned to him. "Like what?" "A place," he said slowly. "A living memorial. A center where soldiers can tell their stories. About pain, courage, loss, healing. No filters. No judgment." Her breath caught. "A voice for the voiceless?" He nodded. "And we'll name it after your father." Riley covered her mouth as tears streamed freely. Not from politics or recognition, but from something far rarer. Someone had cared enough to remember. The following morning, Colonel Reyes gathered the troops. "As your commander," she said, "I've seen bravery in war. But this moment is something else." She gestured toward Riley. "We are not just soldiers. We are storytellers of the human spirit. And this young woman reminded us what we fight for, not flags or fame, but each other." The room erupted in applause. "Thanks to a visit none of us expected," Reyes added. "This base is becoming more than a place. It's becoming a symbol." History was being made, not with weapons, but with words. A month later, a reporter requested an interview with Riley. "Everyone's talking about Redwood," she said. "Can we hear your story?" Riley hesitated. She hadn't done this for attention. But eventually she agreed, on one condition. "No lights, no makeup, just let me speak as a daughter." The interview aired online under a simple title, "The Soldier's Daughter Who Wrote a Letter." It went viral overnight. Veterans wrote in by the thousands. "Your story reminded me why I served. I've carried guilt for years. Your words gave me peace. My daughter watched and said she wants to be like you." Churches, schools, even members of Congress contacted the base asking how they could help. Riley remained unchanged. She still polished boots, still ran drills, still visited the hangar each night. When asked if she felt like a hero, she answered simply, "I'm just a girl who missed her dad." And somehow that meant everything. 3 months later, Trump returned. Quietly again. This time, he wasn't alone. An elderly woman stepped onto the tarmac, wearing a navy blue dress, her silver hair pulled back gently. Her hands trembled. Riley froze. Grandma? She whispered. Trump spoke softly. She wrote to me years ago. I thought maybe you both deserved a reunion. 6 years of grief collapsed in an instant. They embraced, sobbing, while Trump stood nearby, wiping his own eyes. Sometimes the greatest victories don't come from power, but from presence. That fall, the Thomason Center for Military Voices opened its doors. Inside were quiet rooms, recording booths, counseling corners, and a hall of letters, where stories could be shared without fear. Trump stood beside Riley and Colonel Reyes as the ribbon was cut. He didn't give a speech. He only said, "This belongs to you." At the center stood a single letter encased in glass. "Dear Mr. Trump, will someone ever care enough to listen?" Below it, a plaque read, "Someone did." As Trump prepared to leave, he turned to Riley. "You changed me." She saluted. "You listened?" He returned the salute as the jet lifted into the sky. Riley watched it disappear beside Colonel Reyes, knowing something had shifted. Not just for her, but for countless soldiers who never believed their stories mattered. Her letter was never a plea for fame. It was a beacon. And because one man chose to board a plane unannounced, everything changed. Within hours, Trump boarded the jet. There was no press release, no grand entourage, just a single security vehicle and his personal driver. He hadn't done anything this impulsive in years. As the aircraft cut through the sky toward Kansas, the handwritten letter rested in his coat pocket. Its weight heavier than paper should be. Now, walking across Redwood Air Force Base, he felt again that quiet pull in his gut. This wasn't a prank. A young airman opened a side gate, eyes wide. "Welcome, Mr. President." Trump nodded once. "Take me to your commanding officer." As they walked, he noticed something unusual. There were fewer salutes, more sweat. Dust clung to boots. Faces were focused, not performative. This wasn't a show base. This was where work happened. His instincts told him he was exactly where he needed to be. But who had written the letter and why? Colonel Diana Reyes was not easily rattled. At 47, she had served 3 tours, earned 2 Bronze Stars, and built a reputation for no-nonsense leadership. Still, she struggled to keep her composure when Donald Trump stepped unannounced into her command center. He used to bring me here. I apologize for the chaos. We'd look at the stars. We had no prior. He told me being a hero I don't want an apology, Colonel. It's about hard choices. Evenly. I came here sat beside her. That's what your letter was, he said. She read it in silence. A hard choice, her brow tightened. A brave one. Her expression the next day without cameras or ceremony. Soldiers gathered in the hangars. Trump held a folded flag. Trump leaned This forward. Isn't about politics, he said. Private This is about a man who saved strangers. One of our youngest daughter recruits. Who carries his legacy with humility. She just completed her second month of training. To Riley. Quiet. For Captain dedicated. Eli Thomason, she doesn't seek attention. Whose name may not Trump be in headlines, but lives Then she's in exactly who I want to meet. The hangar fell Reyes hesitated. Then salutes rose. Riley's been through After a lot. Trump left. She doesn't even know Quiet deliveries arrived. Trump gave a new equipment. Better barracks. Updated safety systems. Then reach for the radio. Donor plaques. Give me private Only Thomason. A note. Training honor yard. The unheard voices. Now, a friend. As the aide left. Morale lifted. Trump sat quiet. Pride returned. Hands folded. And Riley Reyes studied him. Someone had listened. He seemed less like the man someone had cared enough to rallies. Hundreds. And more like someone Riley unlocked a small storage room. What really brought you toward here? The boxes stacked neatly along Trump the walls. Trump didn't hesitate. Inside sometimes one honest voice dozens upon dozens. That letter soldiers real. After deployments. Neither of them knew how much after nights when sleep never Riley came. Thomason was inspecting gear carefully when an aide others approached. Were crumpled. The colonel wants to see unfinished. Now most of them were never mailed. Her heart jumped. Riley said she quietly. Straightened. Saluted. Some didn't know who to send them to. Moments Trump picked one up at random. Her boots clicked the paper trembled slightly in his hands as he read aloud. Private Thomason. I don't know who to send this to. Reporting is ordered, but I need someone to know I tried. Reyes gestured. I did my best. Riley turned. I'm sorry if it was enough. Donald Trump sat there, voice broke on the hands last folded. Line. These are stories, he said, stood, looking around. Wrote me a letter, shaken. Her eyes widened. Riley actually came. No one ever reads them. Your words meant something. She met his eyes. You know. They shouldn't stay. Reyes excused herself. That's why I wrote to you, closing the door. And in that moment, Trump understood completely. Sit with me, Riley. Beneath a wide Kansas sky, scattered with stars. I didn't expect anyone to Riley outside the old hangar. You asked me to see what truly mattered on the base. Trump replied steady, gently. Watch. So, tell me.
I want to do something.
She took a breath.
He said.
My father was Captain Eli Thomas.
Truth.
He flew
Riley
C-130s.
Like,
people
what?
loved him.
A place.
Not because he
said
was
slowly,
loud, but because he always put others first.
A center where soldiers can tell
Trump
their
listened,
stories.
silent.
About pain,
In
courage,
2016,
loss,
his plane was hit
no filters,
during an evacuation mission.
no judgment.
He could have ejected.
Her breath caught,
but he stayed to guide the aircraft
voiceless,
away from a civilian village.
And we'll
he
name
died
it
saving
after your
47 people.
Riley covered
She
her mouth
paused,
as tears
eyes
streamed
shining.
freely.
They
Not
called it a
from
technical
politics
failure.
or recognition.
It barely
but from
made the
something
news.
far rarer.
Trump's jaw
Someone
tightened.
had cared enough
That's
to remember.
unacceptable.
The following morning,
He didn't care about
Colonel
recognition.
Reyes gathered the troops.
Riley said softly.
As your commander,
But I did.
She said,
I was 12.
I've seen bravery.
I
in
wanted
war,
the world to
but
remember
this
him.
moment is
And so
something
you
else.
joined the Air Force.
She gestured
Trump said,
toward Riley.
She nodded.
We're not just soldiers.
Not for medals.
We
Just to
are
live how you
storytellers
live.
of the human spirit.
A heavy
And
silence
this young
followed.
woman reminded
You've
us what
already
we fight
honored
for,
him more than you know.
not flags or
Trump
fame,
said.
but each
Afterward,
other. The room
Trump asked to
erupted
see
in
the
applause.
base.
Thanks
Not as
to
a
a visit
dignitary,
none of us
but as a
expected.
guest.
Reyes
Riley
added.
guided him to the
This
dining
base
hall.
is becoming more than
Soldiers
a place.
looked up in
It's
stunned
becoming
silence.
a symbol.
No need
History
to
was
stand.
being made,
Trump
not
said,
with weapons,
grabbing a
but
tray.
with words.
Sit.
A month
Eat.
later,
He
a
ate what
reporter
they ate.
requested an
Meatloaf,
interview
mashed
with Riley.
potatoes.
Everyone's
Overcooked
talking about
green beans,
Redwood and
she
asked
said.
real questions.
Can we hear your story?
Why did you serve?
Riley hesitated.
What keeps you going? She
hadn't
Stories
done
poured
this for
out.
attention.
Loss.
But eventually she
Promise.
agreed.
Purpose.
On one condition.
I thought I came
No
here
lights.
to see a soldier.
No makeup.
Trump said quietly.
Just
to
let me
Riley,
speak as a daughter.
But I'm seeing a family.
The interview aired
That
online
evening,
under a simple
Riley
title.
led him to an old
The soldier's daughter,
retired hangar
who wrote a
filled
letter.
with dust-covered
It went
relics.
viral overnight.
This was my
Veterans
dad's favorite
wrote
place.
in by the
she whispered.
thousands. He used
Your
to sneak
story
me in.
reminded me why
We
I
sit in an
served.
old cargo
I've carried
plane
guilt for years.
and look at the stars.
Your words gave me peace.
In the corner sat a
My
wine
daughter
seat watched
130
and
bench
said she
seat.
wants to be like
He
you.
told me being a hero
Churches,
doesn't mean
schools,
medals.
Even
she
members
said.
of Congress
It
contacted
means making
the base
hard
asking
choices.
how they could help.
Riley
sat
remained
beside her.
unchanged.
That's what your letter
She
did.
still polished boots.
She smiled
Still
faintly.
ran drills.
Then maybe he still flying
visited the
somewhere.
hangar each night.
The next
When
morning,
asked if she felt like a
Trump
hero,
made a quiet request.
she answered simply,
that afternoon.
I'm just a girl.
Soldiers
who missed her
gathered in the
dad.
hangar. No
And
podium.
somehow,
No press.
That meant everything.
Trump held
3
3
months
months
later,
later.
This
Trump
isn't about
returned.
politics, he
Quietly
said.
again.
It's about a man
This
who
time,
gave his life to save
he wasn't
others,
alone.
and a
An
daughter
elderly
who
woman
carries that
stepped
legacy
onto the
with
tarmac,
humility.
wearing
He handed
navy
the
blue
flag
dress.
to Riley.
Her silver
For
hair
Captain
pulled
Eli
back
Thomason,
gently.
he said,
Her hands
whose
trembled.
name may not be in
Riley
headlines,
froze.
but lives in hearts.
Grandma,
she whispered.
The hangar fell
Trump
silent.
spoke softly.
Then came the
She wrote to me
salutes.
years ago.
Later that evening,
I thought Riley unlocked
maybe
the
you
small
both
storage
deserved a
room.
reunion.
Inside were boxes.
6 years of grief,
Dozens
collapsed in an
hundreds
instant.
of letters.
They embraced.
Soldiers write
sobbing,
these after deployments
while
after
Trump stood
funerals.
nearby,
Wiping
said.
his own eyes.
Some were never mailed.
Sometimes the greatest victories
Trump picked
don't
one
come
up
from power,
and read aloud.
but from
I
presence.
don't know who to send this to
That fall,
but I
the
need
Thomason
someone to
Center
know I
for military
tried.
voices
I did my
opened its
best.
doors.
I'm
Inside
sorry if
were
it wasn't
quiet
enough.
rooms,
His
recording
voice cracked.
booths, counting
These are
corners in a hall of
stories,
letters,
he said quietly,
where stories could be
Buried.
shared without fear.
That's why I
Trump
wrote to
stood
you,
beside
Riley
Riley and
said.
Colonel Reyes
They shouldn't
as
stay
the ribbon was
hidden.
cut.
He
That
didn't give
night,
a speech
under the stars.
He only said,
Trump spoke
"This
softly.
belongs to you.
I want to build
At the
something
center
here.
stood a single
a
letter
living memorial
encased in glass.
A place where
Dear
soldiers
Mr.
can share their
Trump,
stories.
will someone
Without
ever
filters.
care enough to listen?
Riley's eyes
Below it,
filled. A plaque
a
read,
voice for the voiceless?
Someone did.
And
As
we'll
Trump
name it
prepared
after
to
your
leave,
father.
he turned to
For
Riley.
the first time in years,
You changed
Riley
me.
cried.
She
Not from
saluted,
grief,
but from
you
gratitude.
listened. Someone
He
had
returned the
listened.
salute as the
Someone
jet
had
lifted
come.
into the sky.
Colonel
Riley
Diana
Reyes
Reyes
was
was
known
beside
for
Colonel
no-nonsense
Reyes,
leadership,
knowing
at
something had
47.
shifted.
She
Not
had
just
survived
for her,
3
but
combat
for countless
tours,
soldiers who
earned
never
2
believed
bronze
their
stars,
stories mattered,
and built a
Her
reputation
letter was
that
never a
commanded
plea for
instant
fame.
respect.
It was a
Still,
beacon.
and
Even
because
she
one
struggled to
man
steady
chose to
herself
board a
when the
plane
former
unannounced,
president
stepped unannounced
everything
into
changed.
a command center.
Within hours,
Sir,
Trump
I
boarded the
apologize
jet.
for the
There was
disruption.
no press
She
release,
began.
no
We
grand
had no
entourage,
prior, just a
I
single
don't want an
security
apology,
vehicle and his
Colonel.
personal driver.
Trump interrupted
He hadn't
calmly.
done anything
I came
as
here for a
impulsive in
reason.
years.
He
As
handed
the
her
aircraft
letter.
cut through the sky
She read
toward
it in
Kansas,
silence.
the
Her
handwritten
brows
letter
knit
rested in
together.
his coat pocket.
When she reached the
its
signature,
weight heavier than
her
paper
expression
should be.
hardened. Now,
Not with suspicion,
walking across
but
Redwood Air
recognition.
Force Base,
I
he
may
felt
know
again
who wrote this.
that quiet
She said
pull in
carefully.
his gut.
Trump
This
leaned
wasn't a prank.
forward.
A young airman opened
Private
the side
first
gate,
class Riley
eyes
Thomason.
wide.
One of our
Welcome, youngest
Welcome, Mr.
recruits.
President.
She
Trump
just completed
nodded
her
once.
second month
Take
of
me to
active
your
training.
commanding officer.
Quiet, focused.
As they walked,
Not
she
someone who
noticed
seeks
something
attention.
unusual.
Trump
There were
nodded.
fewer salutes.
Then she's
more
exactly
sweat.
who I want to
Dust
meet.
clung to boots.
Reyes hesitated.
Faces were
Sir,
focused.
Riley's
not
special.
performative.
She's
This was
also
a
been
show
through a
base.
great deal. This was
She
where
doesn't
work
even know
happened.
you're here.
His instincts
Trump
told him
smiled
he was
faintly.
exactly where
All
he
the
needed
better.
to be. Reyes
But
exhaled,
who had written the letter and
then
why?
reached for the radio.
Colonel Diana
Get me
Reyes
Private
was not
Thomason.
easily rattled.
Training yard.
At 47. Now, she had served
As
3
the aide
tours,
left,
earned
Trump
2
sat
Bronze
silently,
Stars, and
hands
built a
folded.
reputation for
His
no-nonsense
gaze
leadership.
drifted to the floor.
Still,
Reyes
she
studied
struggled to keep her
He
composure
seemed less
when
like the
Donald
commanding
Trump stepped
figure from
unannounced
podiums and
into her
rallies.
command center, and more like a grandfather searching for something he'd misplaced long ago. "What really brought you here?" she asked. Trump didn't look up. Sometimes one honest voice cuts through the noise. That letter felt real.
Sir,
Either of them
bring
knew
me
I
much of the
apologize
change,
for
he
the
said.
chaos.
Private
We looked at
First
the
Class
stars.
Riley
We
Thomason.
had
He
no
told me
pride.
being a hero
midway through a
I don't
given
want
an
medals.
apology,
When
Colonel.
it's about hard
Trump said,
choices.
"The Colonel wants to see
I
you."
came
Trump
here
sat
for
beside
now.
her.
That's
Her
what
handed
the letter
her letter.
was.
She
said,
straightened,
read it in silence.
hard choice.
Yes,
brow
sir.
tight.
Brave one.
Moments
Her
later,
expression
next day,
shifted
her
without
boots clicked
cameras
softly
or
across the
ceremony.
polished floor.
I
Soldiers
may know
gathered
who
in the
wrote
hangar.
this.
Private Thomas
Trump
held a
carefully.
folded
Reporting
flag.
as
Trump
ordered,
leaned. This
ma'am.
isn't about politics.
Reyes
Said,
motioned
Private
her
This is
right.
about a
First
man
class
Riley
Riley
turned
turned
strangers.
and
One of our
and
young
daughter
daughters
who
Trump
carries
sat
his
there.
legacy with
She just
calm.
completed her
Hands
handed
folded
the
in his
flag
lap.
to Riley.
He
Quiet.
stood.
For Captain
Dedicate me a
Eli
letter.
Thomas.
She doesn't
Her
seek
breath
attention.
caught. Whose name may not
You
mention
recognize,
names, but lives
then she's
in heart.
exactly
Nodded.
who I want to meet.
Your
The hangar
words,
fell
Reyes
silent.
hesitated.
More
Then
than you
saluted.
knows.
Riley's been
After
Reyes
Trump
quietly.
left, she doesn't even know
quiet
we're
deliveries
here.
arrived.
Closing the
Trump
door
gave
behind
new
her.
equipment. Trump
Better,
all
better,
her
better.
chair.
Reyes
Updated with
exhaled.
safety
Riley.
systems. Then reached for
No
the
donor
hesitated.
plaques.
Give me
Then
private.
obey
Only a
Thomason.
note. Her hands
Training
honored
yard.
the unheard voice.
Now.
I didn't think anyone would
As
read
the
it.
aide left,
She admitted.
morale lifted.
Trump
You
sat quiet
asked
to see
me
what
to return.
truly
Hands
mattered.
folded.
And Riley
Reyes
said
studied
gently,
him.
Someone had
He
to
seemed
tell
less
me.
like the man
Someone
from
had
Riley
cared
took
enough
the
to
rallies.
My
And
father
more
was
like
Captain
someone
Riley
searching
unlocked a
something
small
lost.
storage
He
room.
flew
What really
and
brought
gestured
you
toward
100
the
boxes
third
stacked neatly
Everyone
along
loved
didn't
him.
hesitate.
Inside
Sometimes
was
one
loud.
honest voice
Dozens
cuts
upon
through
dozens.
because he always
That
put
letter
other
felt
soldiers
real.
after deployment.
Trump
Neither of them
knew
knew
how
how
much
much
it
after
would
nights
change.
in 2016
Riley
his
Thomason
aircraft
was
was
hidden
folded
gear
during an
carefully.
evacuation.
When
Others
others
were crumpled. He could
The
have
colonel
checked
wants to see
unfinished, but he
Now,
stayed. Most of them were never
guiding
made
her
heart
away
jump.
from
Riley
civilian
said she
quietly.
straightened.
Her
Some didn't
voice
know who to
wavered.
send
Yes,
them
sir.
to. He died, saved
Moments
Trump
later,
one up
something
at
ran.
random. Her boots clicked
paper
silently
trembled
slightly in his
floor
hand.
command
They called
says
it
he
a
read
technical
aloud.
Private
Failure.
Thomas.
I don't know who to
She
send it to.
reporting as
It
ordered. But I
barely
need someone
made
to
the
know I
news.
tried.
Reyes gestured
I
Trump's
did my
jaw
best.
tightened.
Riley, I'm
Thomas
sorry
froze.
that was enough. Donald
He
Trump
didn't care
said
about
voice
recognition.
broke on the
Hands
last
folded.
line. Riley said,
Watching
"These
her
are
quietly.
stories."
But I did.
He stood. I was
Looking
wrote
around.
me a letter.
Shaken.
I wanted the
Her
world
eyes
to
widened.
remember him.
You
Riley
actually
nodded.
so you
joined the
no
Air
one ever
nodded.
reads them.
Trump
Your
said,
words
"But I
meant
do." She
something.
nodded.
She met his
More than
eye.
for
No.
medals.
They shouldn't stay
Stay
to
to
live how you live.
That's why I wrote to you.
A
Closing
heavy
the door
still in that
behind her.
moment
between them.
Trump
Trump
understood
you've already
clearly.
honored him more than
Sit
you
with
know,
me.
Riley.
Trump
Beneath a
said
wide
quietly.
canvas sky,
After
hand
it
was
trembling.
trembling. Trump asked
I didn't
Trump
expect
anyone to
Riley
read
not
outside the
dignity.
hangar.
But
You
as a
asked
guest,
when
what
truly
Riley
Riley guided him to the dining hall. Steady
Conversations
conversations.
tell me.
I want to do
Heads
something.
took a breath.
He said.
No need
My
to snap
father was
cameras.
Captain
Trump
Eli
said,
Thomas.
"Truth."
Grabbing a
He
tray.
flew
Riley
C-130s.
130s.
Like,
people
what?
loved
He
him.
ate the same
A plate,
meals,
not because he
meatloaf,
loved
mashed
potato,
potatoes,
but
a
because
living
he
memorial
always
cooked
put others
green
first.
beans.
The center where soldiers
And
from
asked
Trump
others
real
listening.
questions
Silent.
about pain.
Why
in
did you
2016,
What keeps you
his
going?
plane was hit
No
stories
fears
in an
emerged.
evacuation
Of
mission.
no
Loss of
judgment.
promises.
He could have
Her
ejected
breath
purpose.
caught, but he
I
stayed.
thought I
Boy
came
came
here
here
to
to
meet
be
a
away
soldier.
from
He
civilian.
nodded.
Trump said softly,
And
"We
we'll
died
name it
saving
after
your
but
father.
I'm seeing a
People.
family.
Riley covered her
Paused.
mouth as tears.
Eyes
Riley
shining.
led him to an old.
They called
not
it
from
a
politics
tired
or
hangar.
recognition.
It
It
barely
barely
made
made
reviews.
something far rarer.
This was my
Trump's
dad's
job. Someone
favorite
had
place.
cared enough
That's
to remember.
unacceptable.
He
The
used to
following
sneak in.
morning,
He didn't care about
after
Colonel
recognition,
Reyes gathered the
we
troops
were
inside and
softly.
as your commander,
But I did.
She
And
said,
look at the
I was.
stars.
I've
12.
seen bravery in
I
the
wanted
corner
the
set a
world to
warning
remember
this
this
moment.
moment.
And
And
so
so
you
you
joined. He told me being a hero.
Trump
Trump
said,
Riley. She nodded.
We're
not just
not
soldiers.
for
It means
medals.
making hard.
We
just
are
to live
storytellers
how you live.
of the human
Trump sat
spirit.
beside
Heavy
her.
silence.
This young
That's
woman
what your
reminded
letter
us
did.
already
What we fight
honored him
for.
more
She
than you
smiled
know.
faintly.
Flags or
Trump
fans.
said,
Maybe
but he
still
still
flying
flew.
somewhere.
The room
Trump asked to
erupted
see
in
the
applause.
They sat in silence.
Thanks
Not
to
as
a
a
surrounded
surrounded
by
by
machines
machines that once
Reyes
carried
Riley
lives.
guided him to the
This
dining
why
room.
right
Right
to
to
becoming more than
soldiers.
Trump
Looked up
finally
and
becoming a
silence.
symbol
Because you have
no
the
power
power
to
to
being
mind
made,
people,
Trump
not
said,
with
forget,
weapons,
grabbing a
but
tray.
with words.
That
Sit.
behind every title,
what they
requested an interview
behind
every uniform.
Everyone's talking about
Green
Trump
Trump
understood
and asked
the
the
next
next
morning,
morning,
can we hear your
he made
story?
a
Why
private
did you serve?
request.
Riley hesitated.
What keeps
that
you
afternoon,
going?
she hadn't
Stories
done
soldiers
more
gathered in the
lost.
hangar.
But eventually
No
she
podium.
agreed.
Purpose,
No
one
press.
condition.
I thought
Trump
I came
held
here
like
to
a
soldier.
flag.
No
This
makeup.
is about
Quietly.
Just let me
Riley,
speak
he
as a
said.
daughter.
But I'm seeing a
It's
family.
about a man
interview
who
aired
gave his
online.
life
Others.
under
Riley
sympathy.
led him
daughter
to
of
the
the
soldier's
legacy
daughter.
Hangar
Wrote a
filled
letter.
with
He handed the
dust
flag.
went
to
viral
Riley.
overnight.
This was my
For
dad's
Captain
favorite
Eli
place.
Thomas,
He
Albert.
said, whose
name
story
may not
reminded
be
me why
headlines,
I sit in
but
an
lives in
old
heart.
cargo
I've carried
plane.
guilt for years.
The
Look
hangar
at the
became
stars.
your
Safer
words
ground.
gave me peace.
In the corner
Words
sat a
spread
my
and
daughter
not a
130
spectacle,
bench.
but
She wants to be like
he
you.
told me being
Trump
a
ate
hero
churches,
doesn't mean
schools.
medals.
He listened.
Even
she
members
said.
of
He
Congress
cried. It means making
Colonel
hard
Reyes
choices
called
make
it
a
help.
ripple effect.
Riley
Trump sat
remained
back
unchanged.
Riley showed
still
him
polished
small locked
She
room.
smiled, still
Avenue.
ran drills.
Then
Boxes
maybe he still
lined
visited
walls.
the hangar each
Letters
night. The
written
next
after
morning,
deployment,
she felt like
after
Trump made a
funerals,
quiet
after
request
nights of
grief
grief.
that afternoon.
I'm
Trump
just a
picked
girl.
Soldiers
Mr.
gathered
Loud.
at the hangar. I don't
No
know who said
podiums.
somehow,
No
but I
press.
need someone to know
Trump
I
helped
tried.
3
Folded
months
flag.
later.
I did my best.
This
Trump
isn't about
returned.
politics.
I'm sorry if it
Quietly
wasn't
again.
enough. It's about a man
This
who
time,
gave his
voice
life to
cracked.
save
He wasn't
others.
alone.
These stories
And
are
an
buried
elderly
in
woman
that
that
legacy
stepped on
with
the
That's
tarmac.
why I wrote to you.
Wearing
Wearing
navy
navy
flag
blue
dress.
Riley.
Her
Under the
silver
stars.
hair pulled back.
Thomason.
Quietly.
Her hands.
I want to
Her name
build
may not
something.
be
Riley
headlines,
froze.
a place where
Grandma
soldiers can share their
stories.
stories. The hangar
Without
Trump
filters.
spoke softly. Then came the
voice
wrote
of
to
the
me
voiceless.
years ago.
Later that evening,
Riley
I
asked.
thought, Riley unlocked
And maybe
real
small
name is
stories
after
of
your
reunion.
father. Inside were
6
cried.
years of grief,
Dozens
not from
collapsed
grief, in an
hundreds
instant
of
letters.
being
They
seen.
embraced
Soldiers
months
write
sobbing.
these after
The
deployment.
Thomas
Trump
Trump
nearby.
military voices
Wiping his
opened
own
its
eyes.
doors.
Some were never met.
Sometimes
Inside
the
stood
greatest
quiet
victories
Trump picked
don't
one
come
up
from
and
power.
read aloud.
They're
From
from
president.
I don't know who to send this
letters.
that fall.
At
But I
St.
need someone
Thomas
to know
and
I
single
tried.
letter
Voices.
rested
I
beneath
opened
my
its
desk.
doors.
Dear
I'm
Mrs.
sorry
Sarver,
were
wasn't
quiet.
owned.
Was someone ever
His
carried
voice
in grooves?
glistened.
Counsel
These are
Rowan,
stories.
Hall
Plaque
letters,
read,
quietly,
where
someone
stories
could
buried.
share without fear.
As Trump
That's why
Trump
I wrote
stood
to you.
beside
He turned
Riley
to
and
Colonel Reyes.
They
They
shouldn't
shouldn't
stay
ribbon
hidden.
was cut. She
That
said
night,
speech
under the
You
stars.
listened.
He only said,
Trump spoke
and as the
softly.
jet
Jets
lifted
you.
into
I
the
want to build
Kansas
the
sky,
center. Stood a single
Riley
letter
living
somewhere
memorial
shifting
shifted.
glass.
A place
Not
where
just
soldiers
soldiers
can
can
share
share
their
for
stories.
every
Will
soldier
someone
who
ever
ever
care enough
believed
to
their
listen?
story didn't
Riley's
matter.
eyes
Low
filled.
her
A
letter
plaque
was
never
never
about
about
fame.
fame.
Someone
did.
It was a beat.
And
As
we'll
Trump
name it
prepared
after
because
your
one
father.
man
He
turned
chose
to
to
Riley.
the first time in
Everything
years.
changed
Riley
me.
cried. She
Not from
saluted,
grief,
but from
you
gratitude.
listened.
Someone
He
had
returned the
listened.
salute as the
Someone
jet
had
lifted
come.
into the sky.
Colonel
Riley
Diana
watched
Reyes
it
was
disappear
known for
beside
no-nonsense
Colonel Reyes.
leadership, knowing
At
something
47.
shifted.
She
Not
had
just
survived
for her,
3
but
combat
for countless
tours,
soldiers who
earned
never
2
believed
Bronze
their
Stars,
stories mattered,
and built a
her letter
reputation
was
that could
never
never
a plea for
instant
fame.
respect.
It was a
Still,
beacon. And
even
because
she
one
struggled to
man
steady
chose to
herself
board a
when the
plane
former
unannounced,
president stepped unannounced
everything
into a
changed.
command center.
Within hours,
Sir,
Trump
I
boarded the
apologize
jet.
for the disruption.
There was no press
She
release,
began.
no
We had
grand
no
entourage,
prior.
just a
I
single
don't want an
security
apology,
vehicle and his
Colonel.
personal driver.
Trump interrupted
He hadn't
calmly.
done anything
I came here for a
impulsive
reason.
in years.
He
As
handed
the
her
aircraft
letter.
cut through the sky
She read
toward
it in
Kansas.
silence.
The
Her
handwritten
brows
letter
knit
rested in
together.
his coat pocket. When she reached the signature,
Its weight heavier than
her
paper
expression
should be.
hardened. Now,
Not with suspicion,
walking across
but
Redwood Air
recognition.
Force Base,
I
he
may
felt
know
again
who wrote this.
that quiet
She said
pull in
carefully.
his gut. Trump
This
leaned
wasn't a
forward.
prank.
A young airman opened
Private
the side
First
gate,
Class Riley
eyes
Thomason.
wide. One of our
Welcome,
youngest
Mr.
recruits.
President.
She
Trump
just
nodded
completed
once.
her second month
Take
of
me to
active
your
training.
commanding officer.
Quiet,
Focus.
as they walked.
Not
He
someone who
noticed
seeks
something
attention.
unusual.
Trump
There were
nodded.
fewer salutes.
Then she's
more
exactly
sweat.
who I want to
Dust
meet.
clung to boots.
Reyes hesitated.
Faces were
Sir,
focused,
Riley's
not
special.
performative.
She's
She's
also
also
been
been
through
through
a
a
great
great deal.
This was
She
where
doesn't
work
even know
happened.
you're here.
His instincts
Trump
told him
smiled
he was
faintly.
exactly where
All
he
the
needed
better.
to be.
Reyes
But who
exhaled,
had written the letter
then
and why?
reached for the radio.
Colonel Diana
Get me.
Reyes
Private
was not
Thomason.
easily rattled.
Training yard.
At 47.
Now, she had served
As
3
the aide
tours,
left,
earned
Trump
2
sat
Bronze
silently,
Stars, and
hands
built a
folded.
reputation for
His
no-nonsense
gaze
leadership.
drifted to the floor.
Still,
Reyes
she
studied him.
struggled to keep her
He
composure
seemed less
when
like a
Donald
commanding
Trump
figure
stepped
from
unannounced
podiums and
into a
rallies.
command center, and more like a grandfather searching for something he'd misplaced long ago. "What really brought you here?" she asked. Trump didn't look up. Sometimes one honest voice cuts through the noise. That letter felt real.